It seems that Hillary Clinton's on a roadshow praising Donald Trump, including a potential nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's explore why in this episode today. It starts with Jeffrey Epstein, who took a dead-broke Clinton family to over $2 billion in donations and $100 million in speaking fees between 2001 and 2013. In exchange, Bill Clinton buried a $450 million financial fraud investigation against Jeffrey Epstein that we will cover in detail. Now we've learned that Loretta Lynch and possibly Barack Obama worked to bury the investigation. Clinton is currently under investigation by Congress and likely the DOJ, and subpoenas have been issued for her testimony. This story is going to unravel quickly, and the Clinton DOJ investigation could finally take down some of the most high-profile names in politics: Podesta, Abedin, Loretta Lynch, James Comey, and possibly Barack Obama himself. What I'm about to share with you is an exclusive investigation from me, a former prosecutor and defense counsel. I'm Ron Chapman, and I've defended high-profile fraudsters. I know how they hide their money and the tricks they play. I've spent hundreds of hours looking into the Clinton Foundation, and what I will share with you during this episode and the next 3 episodes is a first-time inside look into the investigation of Hillary Rodham Clinton that could send her and others right to prison. You'll hear how President Obama buried an investigation into Clinton, how wealthy donors paid their way out of money laundering charges through Clinton, how Jeffrey Epstein escaped $500 million in financial fraud. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to make sure that you get notified of future episodes. All of the research and the transcripts will be provided in my Substack so that you can research further if you'd like. That'll be linked in the show notes. Now let's dive into how the defamed Jeffrey Epstein developed a relationship with Bill Clinton and generated billions for the Clintons and the Clinton. Let's learn why the real Jeffrey Epstein story isn't what you think. But first, let's take a look at Hillary Clinton praising Donald Trump.
I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
President Trump could see himself receive a Nobel Peace Prize nomination from the most unlikely source, one of his most bitter rivals, Hillary Clinton.
Now, this story starts with Maxwell, interviewed in a jail cell by Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General. Many of you don't know this, but just before that, she filed a Supreme Court brief, arguing that she was immune from prosecution because a deal that was struck with her back during the Obama administration. An unprecedented deal which gave immunity to all of her co-conspirators. During the interview with Todd Blanche, Maxwell told the Justice Department about a lot of things, but people really weren't picking up on what was important.
I just want to reiterate again, there is no list that I am aware of. I've never at any time, at least during the period of time when I was present.
She told the Justice Department she was very central to the startup of the Clinton Global Initiative, and that she personally helped Bill Clinton connect with the jet that carried him on those far-flung trips 2 decades ago, including the Africa trip, which we were going to spend a lot of time on. But before we dive too deep into the Clinton Global Initiative and Jeffrey Epstein's connections, it's important for all of you out there to understand how the Clinton Global Initiative was run. This will be important as you see the news coverage coming out related to the Global Initiative and why it's such a problem for our government. The Clinton Global Initiative wasn't just a traditional grant-making charity. It was a conference-driven deal table. You paid to be in the room, about $20,000 a seat, and you made commitments to action with other corporate and government players. The foundation itself explains it this way. CGI brings together leaders of nonprofit and philanthropic organizations, prominent voices in business, labor, and finance, heads of state and government officials to generate commitments. Commitments. That's networking, access, pledges, and government action. Feds call that bribery, and it's actually a felony. Maxwell explained to the DOJ during her interview how she helped ramp up CGI. That she arranged introductions, traveled to Davos to build networks, and in her words was very central. Why is a defamed financier and someone like Maxwell helping to set up a large charity for the Clintons? Well, for money laundering, of course. After leaving the White House, the Clintons were dead broke. Hillary Clinton said this herself.
Be about the Clinton machine, as you said, the Clinton dynasty. Bill Clinton, when he left the White House, made a lot of money giving speeches. Hillary Clinton, since she left Foggy Bottom, the State Department, making a lot of money giving paid speeches. Diane Sawyer asked her why she needs all that.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt. We had no money when we got there, and we struggled to, piece together the resources for mortgages, for houses, for Chelsea's education. It was not easy.
How then were they able to rebuild their finances at an astonishing speed? Public tax filings and tax releases show that she made about $109 million from 2000 to 2007. Bill Clinton earned roughly $104.9 million in speaking fees alone. These fees came from foreign governments, large corporations, and even some random university that paid him a whole bunch of money for absolutely nothing. Blackstone gave him between $250,000 and $500,000 a year. Blackstone executives individually pledged $375,000 to $800,000 to the Clinton Foundation. That's a whole lot of money. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State. She was meeting with people, but only if they first donated to the Clinton Foundation and gave Bill Clinton massive speaking fees. 85 of the 154 people on her State Department calendar pledged to the Clinton Foundation, and many of those people paid Bill Clinton for speaking fees. This was according to an exhaustive review of State Department calendars released by the Associated Press. These 85 meetings allowed contributions of about $156 million to the Clinton Foundation. At least 40 of these individuals donated more than $100,000, and 20 gave more than $1 million. Donors who were granted time with Clinton included an internationally known economist who was in significant trouble with his bank, a Wall Street executive who was about to be indicted. But nothing is worse than the UBS investigation. When Clinton took office as Secretary of State, the Internal Revenue Service was already suing Switzerland's largest bank, UBS. They were doing so to obtain information on Americans with secret accounts at the bank. The bank's situation was complicated by the fact that, acceding to the IRS's request, the bank would potentially violate Switzerland's secrecy laws. Swiss banks have laws that say that they're not to disclose the identity of the people who bank there. But the government wanted the information on 52,000 people. Following what the Wall Street Journal referred to as an unusual investigation and intervention by a U.S. diplomat, none other than Hillary Clinton announced a tentative settlement. Was she authorized to engage in those negotiations? No. Was it her job to engage in those negotiations? No. But Barack Obama allowed her to engage in those negotiations and emerge with a wonderful settlement that benefited Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and many of the donors she wanted to keep secret. Based on the terms of the settlement, UBS provided information on the identities of 4,450 Americans. Remember, the IRS wanted 52,000. Many of those people were protected. The agreement was criticized by some lawmakers in the U.S. who'd been seeking additional information on the deal and were not provided it. Following that settlement in 2009, the most problematic of problems occurred. UBS's donation to the Clinton Foundation increased significantly. Through 2008, the bank had donated about $60,000 to the Clinton Foundation. That's a bit of a problem when you have Hillary Clinton intervening, but it gets way worse. By 2014, the total had grown to $600,000. The bank also paid Bill Clinton $1.5 million for a series of question and answer sessions with its CEO, which was the top source of corporate speech income for Clinton between 2001 and 2014. Let me say that a little louder for the people in the back. Hillary Clinton personally involved herself in a settlement between a Swiss bank that was covering up transfers of money into the Clinton Foundation. During that investigation, she protected the names of some of her donors. She narrowed a settlement. Meanwhile, UBS paid the Clinton Foundation millions and Bill Clinton personally millions of dollars. Now, Hillary Clinton, and Bill Clinton both have aides whose emails were released to the public through a leak. Huma Abedin and Doug Bands. Much of the email traffic between those two people talk about pay for play occurring. And Barack Obama knew this was a liability. His DOJ negotiated an agreement with Clinton and the Clinton Foundation that they would disclose the donations that they were receiving, and they would get approval of any new donations. Do you think Hillary Clinton followed that agreement? And do you think if she didn't follow the agreement, Barack Obama would have enforced it? Well, it's a proven fact that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton violated their agreement with the Obama administration and thus the American people. And Barack Obama did nothing about it. In fact, he did worse than nothing. He buried the investigation. According to PolitiFact, the Clinton Foundation was allowed to accept millions of dollars from Australia, the Dominican Republic, Kuwait, Norway, Qatar, Oman, because of a clause that allowed prior donors to the Clinton Foundation to continue after Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State. But the Qatari donation generated a lot of ethical questions because Qatar is a prominent backer of Hamas, and the federal government is prohibited from accepting funds related to terrorism. Without notifying the State Department, the Clinton Foundation accepted donations from Algeria as well, which donated for the first time in 2010. That was in violation of the agreement. And from the United Kingdom, which tripled its support of the foundation's health programs between 2009 and 2012. That's right, Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell's home country donated handsomely to the Clinton Foundation. Now, for those who don't know, let me explain why this is such a big problem. The rules in this country should apply to all of us, even the ultra-wealthy. Pay-for-play schemes infect capitalism and tilt the playing field towards the corrupt. It's very much like Lance Armstrong and the doping scandal. If the only way to get ahead in cycling is to take EPO and to dope, then everybody has to do it in order to be able to get on the podium. And real Americans want a fair playing field for all. If cronyism and donations and bribery are what's required, then only the corrupt get ahead. Only those who violate the law are able to succeed in this country. And that's contrary to everything that we were founded on. Let's talk about how the Clintons have gotten away with this for so long. In 2015, Hillary Clinton was investigated for keeping classified emails on a private server. Everybody thought the real reason for this investigation was that the emails were classified, but that missed the point completely. The reason why Hillary Clinton had a private server was because there were emails flying back and forth related to the Clinton Foundation and ultra-wealthy donors who were effectively bribing her for government favors. Everybody's eyes were on secret emails, but they missed the point. During that investigation, Clinton staffers told the FBI that they destroyed some of the emails and replaced devices. During the investigation, Clinton staffers told the FBI that they destroyed some of the devices with a hammer, while they couldn't account for others. According to Clinton, she sent and received 62,000 emails during her time as Secretary of State. She or her lawyers went through those emails and determined about half of those were official emails that should be turned over by the State Department. Ms. Clinton said the other emails were private. She said during her interview that they were relating to topics like her daughter's wedding, her mother's funeral, and yoga routines. That's a lot of emails about yoga. In early 2015, she signed an affidavit swearing that she turned over all copies of government records from her time in office. That was a bold-faced lie. The FBI found several thousand work-related emails that were not turned over to the State Department. By the time the final batch of Clinton emails were released in March of 2016, the total number of emails that were received and determined to be classified after the fact had surpassed 2,000. Even Clinton's closest aides realized there was a problem. In a leaked email exchange, Podesta claimed that Clinton's personal lawyer, David Kendall, and former State Department staffers were aware that Hillary Clinton was not forthcoming on the facts during the email investigation. Ms. Hayden responded to an email, "Why didn't they get this stuff out like 18 months ago? So crazy." She later answered her own question saying, "I guess I know the answer. They wanted to get away with it." Even Barack Obama lied about his knowledge of the scandal. When President Barack Obama told an interviewer that he first learned of Clinton's private email server at the same time everybody else learned it through news reports, the Clinton campaign emailed each other to say the president was not telling the truth. They said he has emails from her. They do not say state.gov, meaning they were not state emails, they were on a private server. She wrote implying that Mr. Obama was aware that Clinton was using a private email server rather than her State Department issued email account. In July 2016, FBI Director James Comey went on air to do something unprecedented.
In our system, the prosecutors make the decisions about whether charges are appropriate based on evidence that the FBI helps collect. Although we don't normally make public our recommendations to the prosecutors, we frequently make recommendations and engage in productive conversations with prosecutors about what resolution may be appropriate given the evidence. In this case, given the importance of the matter, I think unusual transparency is in order. Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case.
He announced the results of an FBI investigation to the American people, as opposed to a quiet referral to the Department of Justice. He said that Clinton's aides were extremely careless with highly classified material, including multiple top secret chains. No reasonable prosecutor would bring a case, he said. That was a legal call. Comey was not in a position as the director of the FBI to make legal calls, nor was he given the authority to go before the American people. But we now know in 2025 exactly why that occurred. Something was up with Loretta Lynch. Leaked emails had changed the outcome of the Clinton investigation. Why did Comey speak publicly? No other FBI director had ever done such a thing. In May 2015, Miss Clinton was about to announce her campaign for president. She had a meeting scheduled in Marrakesh with the King of Morocco. She abruptly backed out of the meeting and the king threatened to pull the donation. The implication from the leaked emails that we later saw was that the $12 million donation from the King of Morocco was dependent on Miss Clinton attending the summit and ostensibly some political favoritism. Her presence was a condition for the Moroccans to proceed, so they're not going to back out on this, Huma Abedin wrote to her campaign manager in a 2014 email. You remember that meeting on the tarmac between Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch? The DOJ inspector said in his July 5th report that it violated norms and also criticized Attorney General Loretta Lynch for engaging in the meeting altogether. It was an error in judgment, the OIG report said. Comey later testified that he worried DOJ credibility was compromised. Despite that, he still said that Clinton couldn't be prosecuted. Even if you accept the benign explanations that Lynch and Clinton spoke about grandkids, the appearance of the problem was catastrophic. In October 2016, the Wall Street Journal reported that 4 field offices of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, New York, Los Angeles, Washington, and Little Rock, Arkansas, had been collecting information about the Clinton Foundation to determine whether there was evidence of financial crimes or influence peddling. The investigation went nowhere, and we recently learned why. By the summer of 2016, leadership worried that classified information mentioning Attorney General Loretta Lynch could surface and torch the DOJ's credibility if Maine Justice, not the FBI director, publicly announced the decision. Comey's appearance was instead a backdoor deal between Loretta Lynch and the FBI so that somebody else would take the fall for not being able to prosecute Clinton because Loretta Lynch had been compromised. Press accounts at the time described a Russian-sourced document claiming an email from Debbie Wasserman Schultz to Leonard Bernardo saying AG Loretta Lynch privately reassured Clinton aide Amanda Renteria the inquiry would not go too far. If Lynch had really said that, if that message was really passed to the Clintons, if that email existed, then Lynch had a conflict and she would need to recuse herself or appoint a special prosecutor. Instead, a backdoor deal put Comey in front of cameras, in front of the American people to announce the Clinton investigation would go nowhere, that despite culpability, no action would be taken by Clinton. Now we know how great Hillary's people are at creating Russian intelligence documents. Wouldn't it be interesting if Clinton leaked this to force Lynch off the investigation, and that's exactly what Bill told Lynch on the tarmac? Hillary wasn't the only person spared from the prosecution for felonies. In the next episode, we'll look at the DOJ decision that spared Epstein and every unnamed co-conspirator from federal charges in 2008. We'll also cover the Africa trip and how it led to over $2 billion in donations for the Clinton Foundation.